Hello and welcome to Weston People. Today we have Senior Research Historian Brian Austin. Hello Brian.
Hello.
How do you do? It's lovely to see you. And he's a very, very interesting gentleman. He's been around Weston for quite a long while. How long have you actually been in Weston, Brian?
Born and bred.
Born and bred in Weston?
Not many of us left.
No.
This is a Somerset accent, just thought I'd throw it.
Right, okay. So where did you start out?
I was born from 123 Locking Road, opposite St Saviour's Church.
I know very well,
I used to go to sleep listening to the sound of cars running into the back of each other at the traffic lights because the tyres were so used.
Lovely. So where did you start? I mean, you say you were a rock and roll piano shouter. What is a piano shouter?
When I was very young, I did all the grades in music on the piano. But when it came to about 1957, 58, people weren't terribly interested in that. You know, if you wanted to get girlfriends and things like that, you had to branch out a bit.
Yes.
And I found I could do Jerry Lee Lewis, Ray Charles, Little Richard quite well. So I used to jump up on the stages and give it a good thump.
Wonderful.
And shout my head off, and people used to dance, and it went down quite well.
Wonderful. So those are that was in Weston, was it?
Oh yes, places like the Salisbury Hotel.
Oh yes. That was very well known.
Cabin, yes.
When back in the 60s, when Weston was that type of place, that it was.
Oh yes.
Very vibrant in those days. And so you've done some acting as well, I believe.
I was a professional actor for quite a long time, 1962, 75, 6, 7-ish. Mm-hmm. I started in the Rapier Players in Bristol, which was a repertory company in the Colston Hall.
Yes.
And then I went to the Bristol Ovick Theatre School and worked with the Bristol Ovick at the same time. I then went up to London and did my professional actor thingy on lots of TVs and stuff like that. And purely by coincidence, had quite a good CV, things like Softly Softies, Z-Cars, Steptoe,
wonderful.
Dick Emery, all that sort of stuff.
Wonderful. So you met some very interesting people.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Nice young ladies.
Oh, tell us about the interesting people you met, Brian.
Well, people like Stratford Johns. I've never been a great fan of stars as such. You know, it's not the stars who are usually interesting because they're too self-involved. It's the other people, the really good actors. There were one or two. I was at the Royal Court once, and as you came up, when that would be 1972, and as you came off stage, there was a great spiral staircase, and Coral Brown was in the play, and she was the partner of Vincent Price.
Oh, right.
And one day I went up that spiral staircase, having just come off, and Vincent Price came down wearing his complete cloak and hat outfit, and frightened the life out of me.
I should think it'd frighten the life out of most people.
What are you doing? And he actually said, well, I don't want everyone to know who I am. And that was nice.
That was wonderful.
And people like Sir John Gielgud, if you ever ran into St John Gielgud, there would be something quite funny.
Yes. He always had a good story,
Yeah.
a good yarn. Yes.
But people like Stratford Johns and Harry H. Corbett, I really liked Harry H. Corbett as a human being. He was lovely.
Nice man.
Yeah. And Leslie Crowther was another one. Actually, a funny thing relevant to Weston-super-Mare. Actors are a strange breed, and it's very difficult to stay normal if you spend all your time being someone else. And Leslie Crowther and Jill Dando were the only two people I ever knew who were completely natural, ordinary people, as well as being quite famous.
Yes, themselves.
That was nice.
Yes, that's really nice. I believe you get quite involved as well with family trees and helping people and down at the library.
51 years ago, I began tracing the history of my grandmother's family. That's the Trapnells in Weston-super-Mare.
Oh, yes, of course, very famous.
I'm the last descendant of the eldest of 12 brothers from late Victorian Weston. And that led me into expanding the interest into other families and things like that. And as I sit here today, I can tell you I now have 7,200 and something A4 handwritten pages on my shelf to do with families of Weston-super-Mare.
Really?
And I also quite quickly went into the history of Weston-super-Mare because I was very annoyed that it was always outsiders who turned up and wrote a book about it. And it was usually Tosh.
Yes.
The most ghastly old Tosh.
Yes.
And when I had to stop being an actor due to illness, I decided that one thing I could do would be research everything and write it down and make sure that when I go, there is a complete, proper history of Weston available to you.
Available, right, that's wonderful. And I believe you've got very strong views on the library as well, and you were part of the library committee as well.
Yeah, arts. I was the vice chairman of the library committee for a bit. Obviously, being a theatre person, I'm very much in favour of arts and culture. It's an essential part of civilization. If you look up civilization, it actually mentions arts and culture.
Yes.
You can't have the one without the other.
No.
And it does seem to be under the most extraordinary attack at the moment. All the old amateur theatre groups in Weston are vanishing. The Junior Arts Festival, I'm told, is stopping.
Really?
As in different forms, that's existed for 100 years. And that has been so useful to hundreds of young people in this town.
It certainly
We
has.
are surrounded by talented dancers, singers, actors, poets, painters. And you've got to give them a chance to do something with that. The schools do.
Yes.
Some of the schools still do very, very good performances indeed. And then the poor kids come out of school and are faced with committees run by dinosaurs who don't understand anything about modern theatre or arts and try and tell them what to do. Art is freedom of expression.
Yes.
Not doing what other people want.
That's a dying art, in other words, in a way.
I mean, nobody stood next to Van Gogh and said, I'm paying for this, I want more red.
No, that's very true. No. So you've written some poetry yourself.
Yes, I do my best, but I am handicapped. Because my wife, Anne-Marie, is a genuine poet.
Oh, right.
Published by Blood Axe Books. And she is... You wouldn't expect me to say this. She is exceedingly good.
Yes.
She writes very, very good stuff and is very well reputed. So I'm a little wary about what I do. So I just stick to what I call local poetry. I write about my town, what I see, nature. Like dear old John Clare used to in the old days. I don't pretend to be as good as him, but along the same sort of lines.
Along the same lines.
Just simple stuff, which I would point out everyone can understand, unlike some modern poets.
Yes, that's very true, yes. I believe you were the son of a late brigadier.
Oh,
Tell us a little bit about your father
My
and his
father,
background.
late Councillor Brigadier Austin, CBE, after whom I do not take, was a real character, a wonderful man. He joined the Somerset Light Infantry as a private and came out of the army as a brigadier and was a bit different as a human being. He went to Egypt and the Seychelles and Germany for 3 years. He was what they called Director of Pioneer Labour in Germany, in charge of all civil labour in the rebuilding of Germany for a bit. And my mother would never go. She would never go on board.
Oh, dear.
I'm not leaving all my friends. So we stayed at home. And I can give you a little example of my father. He came back from Egypt after being away for 2 years and came in the back door. And I said, hello, Dad, how are you? And he walked over to the stove and lifted it up. He was like, you haven't cleaned under there then, have you?
Oh, a stickler for it. Yeah, a real
get
stickler.
on with him, and he found it very difficult to get on with me because I wasn't like an army person. You know?
Yeah, I think it's the way they're trained very often, and they can't sort of come down from that, can they? No.
And he went into the council, local Woodspring, was it?
All right.
And Somerset County Councillor, and thought it was going to be like the army, and found himself surrounded by a right bunch of characters. And it really destroyed him. He got so depressed. And he said,
couldn't tolerate fools.
I can't go on with this.
No, couldn't tolerate
and
fools,
he was
you
dead
see.
in 6 months.
Oh, shame.
And he was 5 years younger than I am now.
My goodness.
So ever since that time, if ever I found an opportunity to, as we say in the trade, stick one on the council, I do.
You do, yes.
Embarrassing, you know.
Yes, I mean, the thing is, it's your opinion, and it's a democracy. We have the right to that.
That would be nice.
You've had a lot to do with statistics of cricket as well, I think.
Yes, I love cricket. I've always loved cricket. I went to the Somerset Festival at Clarence Park when I must have been about 5 years old, 1947-ish, yeah, I thought. And I went there for 20 years. Then, of course, I played a lot. And it's such a civilised game. For those who like it, it's a physical version of chess. Because you have to work to position yourself into a place where you can take advantage of the opposition.
Yes.
And it takes a while. It takes a little bit of head, you know. And I became fascinated by statistics, so I joined the Association of Cricket Statisticians, and because of my family history interest, one of them recruited me to help identify and describe hundreds of Victorian cricketers of whom we knew nothing, just their names. And that was absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
All human life was there.
All there. Have you ever thought about becoming a politician yourself?
Oh, God, no.
Any particular reason? Or?
Yes, I am intelligent, educated, civilised and artistic. There wouldn't be anyone to talk to.
Oh, I think you wouldn't like to sort of change the world by being a politician?
Sure, but it didn't work for Hitler and Mussolini, so it won't work
for you.
You can't work. I can't work as a member of a team. I'm not very good at that.
No, you rather work alone.
I get so fed up with the way. How do we put this? The Britishness of everybody. British people are very bad at fighting. They really don't like confrontation. I quite enjoy it.
Yes, yes.
If you're right, you have to be right. You have to be sure of your ground. So one thing I do is I don't make comments about things I know nothing about. Politicians, please copy.
Fair enough. So how do you think Weston has changed, Brian, since the 60s? I mean, in what way? And do you think we can get it back to what it was? And how would you do it?
No, you can't get it back to what it was. And you shouldn't, because time goes on. I was born in a small market town where there were fields between Weston, Milton and Wirral and Wick. It was little tiny enclaves of civilization with great big fields and cows, and people used to deliver groceries by horse and carts, just after the war, of course, And it gradually grew and became very popular for people from outside. And so it becomes less and less Western. That's all right. I've got no problem with people from outside as long as they try to fit in with us and don't try and make us fit in with them. At the moment, we have a number of councillors who insist on trying to build bits of Manchester, Blackpool and Birmingham in the middle of Weston. And that's just silly. That doesn't work. It becomes a jigsaw. People who try and build Victorian-themed areas when they have no idea what a Victorian area ever looked like in the first place. And another thing which really does bother me a lot is the very great shortage of experts. Experts seem to be a dying breed now. We have consultants and we have management, and they're not required to actually know anything about the subject they're managing or consulting on. And that's cost us a few bob over the years.
Yes.
There have been instances where I have... and I say we, actually. There's a group of us interested in local history and all that sort of stuff who know a bit about Weston. And they really should have had a little word with us. And the point I do like to make is I don't want or expect people to do what I say. I would like people to hear what I say, because in some situations I do know what I'm talking about more than they do.
Yes.
Having done over 14,000 hours of research. That sort of qualifies you for something.
Absolutely.
Come on, the idiot.
Do you have any vision of your own as to what you'd like to see happen to the old pier?
Oh, that's a tragedy. That's been played with by big business. Nobody really took that on to do anything with it, and I don't think they have yet. It's gains, and I don't quite understand who's doing what, but I'm sure a lot of it is tax deductible. The old pier was a treasure, but I'm not sure it ever could be again. Whoever does something with that has to have a way of getting the money back. And in reality strikes, it's got to be a casino. Something like that. I don't think you could even do it with flats. The idea of putting shops out there, well, that's silly. I mean, who's going to go to them, The idea of a lifeboat museum where the hotel used to be, oh, blimey, come on. Ding, ding. It's like last time round, when the Lay brothers took on the old pier and came up with some really good ideas, and then started talking about wave-powered trams. That was the moment when you start to wonder what they were on. And you knew nothing would happen.
Yes, yeah. How would you yourself like to be remembered by the people of Weston? And would you write an autobiography?
Good God, no, I couldn't do that. Some of the
sure
stuff I got up to, it's a good, no. people want to remember me, I'm not all that fussed about that. I will leave behind me a vast archive called the Austin Collection, willed to Somerset Heritage Archives to last forevermore, so that people in 200 years' time will be able to get a clue. People might like to say, oh, here was someone who worked hard for nothing and who tried to be as honest as they possibly could and didn't go out of their way to try and make an impression to impress people whom I don't respect in the first place anyway.
Fair enough.
So that'll do me.
Fair enough. So if people want to try and follow their family tree, Brian, how would you tell them to start and how would you encourage them to
in this
carry
day
on?
and age, firstly, find out what you can from your own family. Don't expect other people to do it. You've got to start. Any elderly relative you can find all the information you can to start with.
Right.
It's 2011 now. Can you go back to 1911? That'll be a fair start. 1901 even better. That takes you into the really available census.
Yes.
Then go and talk. If you're in Weston, go to the library on the first or third Saturday of the month in the afternoon and have a word with the Weston-super-Mare Family History Society, and they will immediately help kick you off and point you to all sorts of other directions.
Right.
That's by far the easiest thing to do now.
Righto. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Brian, for coming in to see us today.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, and it's always interesting to meet you.
Oh.
All your stories. All your stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you.